Hey, folks, it is time to get back to Canton, Massachusetts, and the Karen Reed case. Now, 2 segments today. We will start out with taking a look at what Chris Albert is doing and not doing nowadays. And then we will move on to Karen Reed's first amended complaint against the MSP, Massachusetts State Police, and the town of Canton, her lawsuit against them for their obvious corruption. So that is second, so a two-parter. First, we're going to have some fun with Chris Albert, the producer of A Moron's Son. And yeah, let's go through it. Welcome to the show.
Santa Claus, riding in with the winter laws. Santa Claus, streaming live for the roaring masses. Oh, raise them horns, old Judge King in a crown of thorns. Santa Claus, streaming live for the roaring masses. Santa Claus, Santa Claus, Santa Claus, Santa Claus.
Yeah. Now, as per usual, or as I try to when I remember it, covering the Canton things, my rubber ducky jacket. For you who don't know, why a rubber ducky jacket? Well, some time ago, a couple of years now, it must be, somebody started to place out rubber duckies near and around where someone in the, Proctor, the Alberts, the McCabe's, with a small text bit that said more or less, admit what you did. Yuri Buchanik, or Mr. Bukaki, decided to investigate this and spent, I believe it was over 40 overtime hours investigating rubber duckies as witness intimidation. He brought it in front of a judge who laughed him out of court and said, no, clearly rubber duckies with text are not witness intimidation, and hence rubber ducky jackets. Today, because I went to our local dollar store, red Solo cup. Again, if you don't remember, why I don't know why you shouldn't. The idiots in the local police department decided to use red Solo cups to scoop up evidence in, which no, but they seemed very, very proud of themselves in a way where, in a way that your 4-year-old is proud over having a big poo. Missing the toilet, but it was still a big poo. So yeah, hence why I dress up a bit. No, I don't dress up like Baker do, but I'm getting there. I'm getting there. So hello, folks. Hello to Christine, to Arcas Chicken Gun, to Lynette, Gwendolyn. Thank you so much to Matilda for your €2 super chat. Thank you so much. Thank you. I'm always enjoyably surprised when you guys support my stuff with cash. I really enjoy it, but I have to say, always appreciated, never necessary. If you are struggling, and a lot of people do, don't. Give a thumbs up, watch the entire thing, and then go watch my other videos. That is all I need from you. That is all I need from you. All right. Where were we? Oh, yeah. That thing. Hold on. So, some time ago, Chris Albert was voted out from being a town councilman in Canton, Massachusetts. And it seems like he didn't prepare for what would happen next. This is a phenomenon that shows up every once in a while if you are a politician who also runs a business like Chris Albert. Some people will frequent your establishment to grease you up. It is a form of bribery, in my opinion. And once he was no longer a town councilman and a local pariah, oh no, Mr. Chris Albert, the producer of A Moron Son. Are you having difficulties? Oh no. No, please don't say it's true. Here is small claims court. Small claims, disposed for statistical purposes, 11/5/2025 was the file date, initiating action, small claim over $5,000. And this was on a status date at March 25th, 2026. And yeah, so not much. I mean, party information, Capital One, successor to merger to Discovery Bank. Okay, so what was this all about? Well, it seems like Mr. Albert has a hard time via his company to pay his bills and pay his credit. Now, many business owners use as credit to buy inventory, to buy stock, to buy everyday things. Because why not? You don't have to be out of cash, and you always count on the money coming back to you. Until it don't. So here you have. Now, how did this end? Well, Chris Albert decided to not show up at all for this small claims case. So it went into default. And judgment entered of the default and upon assessment of damages, judgment for Capital One, judgment against Christopher Albert, terms of judgment, interest begins 11/5/2025, running, well, that's November 2025, and up until, well, interest begin, which means it will accrue interest until he pays. So this is damage amount $6,114.86. Filing fees just under $177. A grand total of $6,291.83. So this is what Capital One has against it. Now, it's not unusual that business owners choose between. I mean, the restaurant business is a cutthroat business. The margins are not high. In Chris Albert's case, him also being a town selectman and people wanting to grease him up and maybe do them favors, so they went to his establishment, which, well, apparently made his profits margins a bit better. But still, sometimes crap happens. It is when it repeats itself when things go interesting. Because once, mistake, bad judgment. Twice, oh, now it's a habit. So, again, this is Portfolio Recovery Associates, LLC versus Christopher Albert, Small Claims Court, 9/8/2025. Small claim over $5,000. Oh, let me get that up for you. The status change 7/15/2026. So this took almost a year. And party information, Christopher Albert. No attorney. Oh, did you go pro se, Mr. Albert? It's weird because the Alberts seem to have plenty of cash to sue Aidan Carney and Canton Reed. So why don't Chris have money to pay his bills? I mean, it has been a successful business for quite some time. Well, until he wasn't available for bribery, that is. So instead of saving the Albert family, trying to save Chris' business, they spend a lot of money on lawyers. Except Chris Albert, who goes pro se. Oh, thank you. May the force be with you. Thank you so much for your 20 euros. Thank you. Still not sure what the jewels are. That is something for you who are watching this on mobile. And I don't know exactly the value of it. What I do know is it is 20 joules I did not have 5 minutes ago. So I'm grateful. So, what did happen to this case? Well, let's check here. Magistrate trial, small claim schedule on 7/15. Defendant failed to appear. Oh, really, Mr. Albert? You skipped court again? You skipped court again. Judgment entered for Portfolio Recovery Associates, LLC. I'm not sure what that is for. Recovery. Let's see who they are. Associates, LLC. It is a credit bureau company. They purchase unpaid and charged-off consumer debt and stuff like that. So, he chose to not show up. And this time is $5,120.19. Costs to court $150. Judgment total $5,270. So that's twice. Now it's getting to a habit. And there is another small claims lawsuit filed against him with another creditor that is still open, which makes it 3 in quite a short amount of time. And if this is also just over $5,000, but with interest, and interest isn't low. I mean, at the moment, he owes just over $11,000 to 2 different. If he does this again, Now it's all of a sudden over $16,000. Now it's getting worrisome for Chris Albert. And I do actually boil it down to him having a hard time making money. Because his restaurant was successful as long as he had a place as a town councilman, where other business owners who wanted favors, let's go eat at Chris's place. Where people asking for favor, I mean, did Chris Albert think he was a kind of godfather or something? People went in there, they bought, I don't know, the greasy pizza with anchovies, and they could ask for favors. It almost seems like that, because all of a sudden, customers gone. Business failing. Because if you go from having a successful business to possibly having debt in excess of $16,000 in less than a year, PRA is a debt collection company that buys debt for pennies on the dollar. Well, they succeeded here. They must be overjoyed over this. So, but $16,000 in the grand scheme of the revenue of that place, which I assume is in several $100,000, it might not sound much. But again, restaurant business are known for having extremely low, bad margins. $16,000 in debt, unsecured debt. Yeah, I would not be surprised if this keeps going, that some of his creditors will ask a bankruptcy court, hey, we need our money now. We need our money now. And they can go to a bankruptcy court and say, force him to, well, close down, sell the inventory. We want our money. And all of a sudden, Chris Albert has no restaurant anymore. I would not be surprised if by the end of this year, that is the situation for Chris Albert, the man who, well, what is it, 30 years ago, drove allegedly drunk and actually killed a person. Then somehow, through connections, because big fish, small pond, the Alberts, somehow got to be a town councilman. But now he's out. And soon his business might be out. And thank you to Derek. Derek, 200 joules. Yay! Thank you so much. Still not sure about exactly the worth of it, but I do know it's 200 joules I did not have 5 minutes ago. So thank you so much, Derek. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Now, of course, there are other ways you can help this channel going. Especially now, since in September... Oh, wait. I have to give a little bit of a forewarning here. Yeah, in September 10th, I am coming to the United States. I will be in Indiana between September 10th and September 24th. Mainly because of the Rick Allen appeal, which the oral argument is on the 21st. But I will spend that time going to Delphi, Indiana again, trying to stir shit up. Also going to Flora, Indiana, because it's soon 10 years ago. The Flora 4. The case where 4 minor black girls were burnt to death in Flora, Indiana. I've read through the investigation, which is extremely poorly done. And even with that, there is a clear suspect. A clear suspect they never asked the phone off. They never went through digital records. Nothing. Because he's a local businessman and allegedly a part of the local Freemasons. So I'm going there. I will record enough for maybe a 2-part series in Flora, Indiana. I'm also going to Hamlet, Indiana. And why Hamlet, Indiana? Well, because of a man named Michael Fosler. Michael Fosler, if that name rings a bell, yes, that is the person Aaron Spencer ended. Michael Fosler, 42 counts of doing bad things to Aaron Spencer's daughter. Michael Fosler was let out on a measly 50,000 bond, 10% needed to be paid, so $5,000, with almost no restrictions whatsoever. Few months down the line, Michael Fosler takes Aaron Spencer's daughter in his truck. Aaron Spencer and his wife notices something is wrong, discover their daughter is gone, call 911. Aaron Spencer goes out looking for them and finds them. An altercation occurred, and Michael Fosler was no more. So that case is out of Arizona. No, sorry, Arkansas. So why am I going to Hamlet, Indiana? Because Michael Fosler was a police chief and school resource officer in Hamlet, Indiana in the 1980s and early 90s. There are victims starting in the mid-1980s of Michael Fosler. He was protected in Hamlet, Indiana, due to him being a police chief. And also, the Fosler family in Hamlet, Indiana, has been a prominent Freemasons family for over 150 years. So I'm going there again to record for a miniseries, or a miniseries, a few video episodes under the working name of Finding Fosler. So, if you want to support that work, my PayPal is pinned in the chat on YouTube. I will pin it over at Rumble as well, because the money I get in through there is going exclusively to that trip, so I can find out more. So that is that was my grifting. Cheers. All right. Next topic. Karen Reed filed a first amended complaint against the MSP, the Massachusetts State Police, and town of Canton. And she has added a number of things. So, folks, let's go through that. Karen Reed plaintiff versus MSP and Town of Canton defendants. First Amendment amended complaint. Introduction. The not guilty verdict in Commonwealth v. Karen Reed on June 18th, 2025 did not merely end a wrongful prosecution. It showed an unflinching spotlight on something the MSP and the Town of Canton Police Department have spent years trying to conceal. An embedded culture of bigotry, misogyny, systemic failures, and institutional rot at the very core of both organizations. Yeah. If you haven't seen my video of what Michael Proctor actually thought of women, minorities, more or less everything not white male. It is absolutely vile. It is some of the absolute worst I have ever seen in writing. It's not for the faint of heart. It's not. As a result of this entrenchment, Ms. Reed now files this action against MSP and CPD for their negligent hiring, training, and supervision of biased and corrupt police officers whose actions violated her constitutional rights and caused her immense harm. At the heart of Ms. Reed's claims lies a distressing narrative, one not just about individual rights. Hello, Mr. Jingles. Hey, folks, Mr. Jingles is here. Hello. Hello, Mr. Have you been outside? Have been chasing down mice and rats and other things? Yeah, it's harvesting time over here. And the big combine harvesters has been out on the fields, which means there's mice everywhere. And Mr. Jingles is a very, very good hunter. Yeah, you are. Yeah, you are. Yeah, you are. Yeah, you are. All right. Let's keep going here. At the heart of Ms. Reed's claims lies a distressing narrative. One not just about individual rights, but about fundamental principles upon which our society is built. Through this action, the MSP and CPD will now be forced to answer for their police officers' unlawful conduct against Ms. Reed, that is set forth in detail below, but also for the insidious culture of bigotry and misogyny that fostered such unlawful conduct and has likely resulted in other unconstitutional criminal investigations, in which countless unknown others also have suffered. Now, some of you might ask, why do they only bring up the misogyny and bigotry? Well, it is my firm belief that Michael Proctor is a full-blown Schnazi. But that can't really be used in this case. It can be used in other cases. Example, the King case, where what's the attorney's name now? Well, that attorney has made a tremendous job getting the Proctor texts out to full light. Miss Scapaccio, something of the sort. Sorry for butchering your name, Miss Scapaccio. Let's see here. Also has suffered. Indeed, the MSP and CPD have avoided facing this very moment for years, but it's now time for the long-awaited transparency and accountability owed to the citizens of this Commonwealth. Former MSP Detective Michael Proctor and former, as of 2 days before Ms. Reed filed her original complaint in this case, CPD Sergeant Sean Goode, are virulent bigots whose hatred for anyone and everyone different from themselves permeates their every action. They are not officers who occasionally voiced offensive remarks. They are men whose written and recorded communications sent to one another and to a circle of like-minded friends over the course of a decade, established entrenched an unrepentant hatred for women, as well as Black, Asian, Jewish, Hispanic, Arab, and gay people. Their unfitness for any position of public trust was not subtle. It was extensively documented and, as set forth below, knowably to MSP and CPD long before either agency assigned them to investigate and prosecute Ms. Reed. Proctor's and Goode's involvement at the outset of the investigation into the death of John O'Keefe III invariably and irredeemably contaminated it in every aspect. Derek says, why has Proctor never been charged with a crime regarding his texts? Well, Michael Morrissey is the current DA in Norfolk County who decides that. And how much we really loathe Proctor's texts and words, most of it, almost all of it, is still protected. Now that doesn't mean it doesn't have repercussions for Mr. Proctor, because if there is finding in this case, for example, that his bigotry, his misogyny affected the investigation, now it becomes at least should be a crime. But in this case, they have to settle for civil. A civil court to decide. As depicted in thousands of written and audio messages that the Norfolk County DA's office has in its possession and has substantially hidden from public view, and far from the inclusive values that both organizations publicly claim to pursue, Proctor and Goode secretly and proudly wore badges of hate. Indeed, bigotry guided their every act as law enforcement officers for years, but such conduct remained disguised by the uniforms they wore, and obscured by the support and encouragement they received inside the walls of the very institution designed to prevent such injustice. For the MSP and CPD who hired, trained, supervised, observed, and evaluated these two for years, Proctor's and Goode's hateful and despicable views are not only part of their own daily vernacular, but were woven through the fabric of their organization's culture and everyday conversation. Oh, we are going into the quotes here. This might be a trigger moment, a trigger warning. After telling Goode about a multi-car accident in Canton, quote, actually, take your time, I saw a N-word was involved, so I wouldn't rush if you're working. Let them die. That was the words of Michael Proctor. My new VP is a giant, malignant C-word. I pray to the heavens that some effed up insect from the Amazon crawls up her vagine, hatches eggs, and the litter kills her by eating her from the inside out. Michael Proctor. Sean Goode says about something, biggest C-word, slut. Next quote from Michael Proctor, referring to his then girlfriend's balloon knot. I can't even get effing near that thing. I make every effort possible. I wait till she's asleep and try to get at it. I try every effort possible. I try to get her hammered. I can't get anywhere near it. It's starting to piss me off. It's not cool. That, folks, is a person wanting to grape. that is a person who some people still defends. That, for instance, Julie Carpenter, the former reporter for Court TV, to this day defends Michael Proctor. Michael Proctor again went into Canton High this morning to get the transcript and saw more N-words in 10 minutes than the 4 years spent there combined. Yeah. It goes on and on and on and on. And that is just a select few. There are more. There is so much more. Day in, day out. Proctor, Goode, friends of Proctor and Goode, family of Proctor and Goode, colleagues of Proctor and Goode were involved in some of these group chats. And nobody did anything because they are all the same type of person, in my opinion. Indeed, throughout the course of their friendship, which dates back to high school, Proctor and Goode bonded over the warped prism through which they both view their surroundings and the individuals they encounter in their personal, but more importantly, their professional lives. These distorted worldviews were shaped by unimaginable hatred and intolerance, through which they dehumanized others, including co-workers, witnesses, and importantly, subjects of their investigations. Yeah. One thing that still is a bit ambiguous or hazy is Michael Proctor had images of nude women on his phones. Some of them allegedly victims of crimes. So when Buchanan took the stand in the Canton Reed trial, trying to defend Michael Proctor's words, "No nudes yet," Buchanan knew that Michael Proctor collected images from victims, witnesses, and suspects' phones. Swell guy there, isn't it? These distorted worldviews were shaped by unimaginable hatred and intolerance, through which they blah, 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 blah. Subjects of their investigation and subjects often wishing violence or death on them, demeaning them, or even suggesting planting evidence on them to cause them harm. In written and recorded audio conversations, beginning in 2013, the year MSP hired Proctor, and when Goode was already an officer with CPD, and for almost a decade later, these two law enforcement officers referred to community members whom they encountered as... Yeah, I can't say those words without being demonetized. But imagine the worst slurs there is. Proctor and Goode believed these folks were polluting the neighborhoods in which they lived and worked, and where they eventually served. They did more than just subscribe to and act in conformance with their bigotry. They actually memorialized in writing and voice messages their bigoted views to their like-minded friends, some of whom were fellow officers. Not a few communications, thousands of them. They discussed sharing private nude pictures of women and intentionally spraying women while they slept. Few protected classes, community members, or public figures were spared. Goode wrote, Boston Mayor Michelle Wu is a little C-word. Governor can suck my dick. New England Patriots owners Robert Kraft is a terrible C-word you. And from Sean Goode, and Frank is a lying C word. Anne Frank, you should know about. Anne Frank was a young girl during World War II trying to hide. Eventually, she was found and shipped off to the Nazi killing camps. Her diary was found and is preserved, so we now know her thoughts while she was hiding from the Nazis. And Sean Goode says she is a lying C word. That there shows me Sean Goode, Michael Proctor, and probably several of their friends, colleagues, family members are full-blown Nazis. Put simply, they were then and they are now completely and unquestionably unfit to carry a badge and a gun, have arrest powers sanctioned by their agencies, or hold positions of authority with MSP and CPD, much less to play important roles, or in Miss Reed's case, the primary role in homicide investigations. And despite the fact that CPD has received, reviewed, verified, and analyzed these same messages nearly a year ago, Sergeant Goode remained employed with full rank as a sworn police officer by the CPD until approximately 48 hours before Miss Reed filed her original complaint in this case. Yeah, and it also was just, I believe, weeks, maybe a few months after Sean Goode made it to 20 years as a law enforcement officer, meaning he stepped up a level in pension. On January 29th, 2022, the MSP and CPD unleashed these two misogynist bigots on Miss Reed to work on the conflicted and corrupt investigation into the death of Mr. O'Keefe. It did not take long to trigger their hatred and target Miss Reed. Indeed, Proctor and Goode, other police officers, and their respective organizations understood the assignment once their fellow cops and friends, Brian and Nicole Albert, Matthew and Jennifer McCabe, and Brian Higgins, referred to as the House defendants in Miss Reed's pending federal court action. Now, they really don't like being called the House defendants, so I have renamed them. They are the collective known as the Wankers. Let's see. Falsely reported that Mr. O'Keefe never went inside the house, even though there were facts available to the investigators which were ignored, including Mr. O'Keefe's face was battered and bruised, consistent with a physical altercation. He had dog bites and scratches on his arm. There was a large dog that was not good with people inside the house. His iPhone showed steps taken toward the house. His GPS data established pinging in an area that included location inside the house. His iPhone battery temperature stayed steady at approximately 50 degrees for 4.5 hours during the early morning hours, indicating a consistent cool but not freezing temperature during the night. That same battery temperature plummeted just after 6 a.m., indicating an acute and recent exposure to freezing temperatures just before that time. His body did not exhibit signs of hypothermia, and Mr. O'Keefe exhibited a severe laceration on the back of his head that could only have come from a backward fall onto a ridged or ledged surface in the house rather than a flat dirt front lawn. Law enforcement began immediately targeting and framing the female outsider, Miss Reed. As the MSP's assigned lead investigator, and without knowing any more about Miss Reed than she was an outsider and a female, Proctor openly exposed his ossified prejudice when he described her to his group chat buddies as retarded, whack job C-word, with no ass, Lixpo, whom they decided 16 hours in the investigation had zero chance of skating. Proctor pronounced in his friend group, "She's fucked." Proctor intended to make the investigation cut and dry, so he and his close-knit circle of friends could pin it on the girl. Immediately after Miss Reed's arrest, Goode made the same type of sexualized and dehumanizing comment about Miss Reed's medical conditions and physical appearance that he and Proctor peddled in the hallways of their organizations on a daily basis. Quote, "Jesus, every girl will want a brain tumor, multiple sclerosis, colitis, if you can look like that in yoga pants after killing your boyfriend." End quote. Meanwhile, as Goode pondered Miss Reed's figure in yoga pants, Proctor seized Miss Reed's phone and immediately after obtaining it, launched into a search for naked pictures of her, only to report back to his colleagues, supervisors, and friends, disappointingly, no nudes so far. But, as he wrote to others as the investigation began, he hoped that she ends herself. Hi, Shanagram. Saying, "I didn't realize I was watching you live. Surprise!" Yes, folks. Now, no, not a premiere. This is actually live. Unless you're here on Replay Crew, then replay. Wait a minute, what did I see up here? US 18242. Oh yeah, okay. 18242. Targets police officers, jail guards, judges, and other state and or local government actors. Forbids using official government power to abuse, steal, falsely arrest, or harm individuals. So that is what that is about. It's a good question. But I believe it is, since she wasn't convicted, she chooses this lawsuit instead of doing an 18242 case out of it. I'm not a Massachusetts-based attorney, so I don't know if they can do both. Let's see here. MSP and CPD investigative approach was born out of Proctor and Goode's perverse and depraved pattern of singling out and vilifying an outsider while protecting the Blue Line and their families. This was, of course, made more palatable by viciously dehumanizing Miss Reed. With the help of Goode and CPD, Proctor and his colleagues at MSP, including his direct supervisor, Yuri Bukaki, conducted a fundamentally conflicted and corrupt investigation where the goal was to pin it on the girl, and which included rampant violations of policies, procedures, and ethical rules. For example, and as described further below, despite the overwhelming evidence that Mr. O'Keefe was inside the house at 34 Fairview Road, the MSP, under the direction of Proctor, did not search the home for blood, fingerprints, DNA, spatter patterns, or any other evidence. The house was neither processed nor photographed by a forensic criminalist. Indeed, the investigators did not even walk into the crime scene house until a week later, and then only for a pro forma visit and brief interview of Nicole Albert. No effort was made to secure evidence from the Albert's large German Shepherd, a dog not only capable, but likely to leave the exact sort of wounds extant on Mr. O'Keefe's right arm. This, even though Mr. O'Keefe's body was found in the front yard with fresh and obvious dog bites and scratches on his right arm. And even though the dog had a documented history of attacking strangers and other dogs, nor did Proctor, Buchanan, or their MSP colleagues conduct any physical examination of the house defendants, or as I call them, the collective known as the wankers, or attempted to seize, inspect, or search their phones or the myriad relevant data on those phones. The investigators did not attempt to secure the crime scene, document evidence, collect biological material, videotape or record interviews, take DNA control samples, geolocate digital devices at the scene, collect electronic devices, secure surveillance footage, create a crime scene log, or maintain even the most basic chains of custody in accordance with well-established investigative protocol. Yeah, to this day, nobody can say what cops were actually there. They know some of the names, not all of the names. Worse yet, with the help of others at both the MSP and CPD, Proctor and Goode manufactured evidence to ensure that Miss Reed was blamed for Mr. O'Keefe's death, intentionally diverting attention away from Proctor's friends and fellow law enforcement officers. These included planting evidence at the scene. On Mr. O'Keefe's clothes and on Miss Reed's vehicle, and presenting inverted and otherwise compromised surveillance footage of the alleged murder weapon to support the wanker's false narrative that Miss Reed struck Mr. O'Keefe with her vehicle, notwithstanding that the investigators and their experts knew Mr. O'Keefe's injuries were inconsistent with a motor vehicle strike and consistent with a physical altercation and dog attack. Among other failures, MSP and CPT delegation of power and authority to those as biased, corrupt, and bigoted as Proctor and Goode led to Miss Reed being wrongly accused of homicide for 3.5 years and subjected to suspicion, 2 arrests, 2 prosecutions, 2 extremely public trials, and overwhelming and unrelenting public condemnation. Indeed, with the exercise of ordinary care, both MSP and CPD would have known that Proctor, Goode, and others were unfit for service from the beginning, and eventually that their conduct was targeted at and responsible for accusing an innocent woman of crimes she did not commit. Incredibly, Proctor himself acknowledged his own unfitness in 2017, after 4 years of the job, telling his friends prophetically, "No idea how I passed the background." Yeah, because Proctor tried to get a job as a Boston police officer, and he was denied. Get the fuck out of here. But the MSP, yeah, sure, you will fit right in. Now, after being twice acquitted of all charges relating to Mr. O'Keefe's death, Ms. Reed brings this action to recover for and address MSP's and CPD's actions, inactions, and negligent failures to ensure that justice was sought and served in the aftermath of January 29th, 2022. Ms. Reed seeks damages as well as declaratory and injunctive relief to remedy the future risk of similar harm to Ms. Reed and other members of the public from MSP's and CPD's failings. To be clear, this complaint transcends Ms. Reed's personal and actionable grievance. Rather, is a clarion call for reform and accountability. Cloaked with the emblem of authority, MSP and CPD and their employees Proctor, Goode, Buchanan, and others betrayed their sworn commitment to uphold the law. Their prejudices undermine our very democratic principles in wielding the great force of government over those who are vulnerable and powerless. MSP's and CPD's cultures of intolerance, hidden from the public, but in plain sight within these organizations, cannot stand unchallenged. MSP and CPD are culpable and must confront the consequences of their institutional negligence. Parties, jurisdiction, incorporated facts, additional facts. Proctor and Goode's ingrained misogyny, racism, homophobia, anti-Semitism, and other biases. So this is everything was not known when they filed this lawsuit. So much has been brought forward. So much. And the additional facts are: by January 29th, 2022, Proctor and Goode, both inveterate bigots, had long-standing and deeply held biases against women, as well as almost every other protected class of people other than white, male, non-Jewish police officers. Proctor's and Goode's clear willingness and tendency to dehumanize, judge, and evaluate people and circumstances based on their hatred and biases significantly contributed to their willingness to embrace the narrative provided by the wankers and target Miss Reed, leading to the destruction of her career, her financial stability, and her very freedom, as well as the emotional and physical harm caused by 2-year-long prosecutions and trials for a crime she did not commit. And this is messages sent by Proctor during the MSB's hiring process. 2013, Proctor wrote to his friends, "Hey, dickheads, just want to give you a heads up that you guys may get a call from a state trooper named Scott Cooper who is doing my background check. Don't know how far back they're going to go with this stuff, but didn't want to have this guy catch you off guard." Proctor is telling friends to lie for him to become a cop. Friend responded, "No problem, but what are we supposed to say? Last time, the Boston Police Department lady was grilling me for exact dates as to when and how long you live in Brighton, how we pay rent, to who, etc. Anything specific we should be aware of." Proctor responded, "That lady was an absolute C-N-word who had it in for Bear, referring to himself in third person by his nickname Bear. I assume that is the nickname he tried to give himself, because he's a wanker. Talked to this guy for a half hour today, and I would be shocked to pull the same shit as her just from how she acted with me on the phone." And they did a half-assed background check, and Michael Proctor was a cop. And more. There's so many quotes that Michael Proctor shared with friends, relatives, family, colleagues. I mean, so this here is now yeah. And it keeps going and going and going and going. So there's much of these quotes and recordings that Karen Reed didn't know about when she first filed. So now with this first amended complaint, there's so much more. So much more. And I have to say, even though this might take years, I do believe that Massachusetts State Police and the Canton Police Department will eventually have to pay. Folks, that is what I had for you today. We first talked about Chris Albert possibly losing his business because he's no longer a town councilman open for bribery, and Karen Reed's first amended complaint. Thank you so much for the support from May the Force be with you and Derek Croissant. Let's see here. Yeah, thank you so much. That means I have to send you off to somebody else. I don't know who yet. And I will return tomorrow with another stream or another video. So, from me, Mr. Jingles, he's sleeping with a paw outside of the... Oh. From me, Mr. Jingles, thank you. You all have a good one, and I will see you all in the next stream or video. Bye-bye.